This is BBC Radio 4. And now the food programme with Sheila Dillon.
What's that?
What is a small good thing?
In a nutshell, I guess it's a greengrocers with a community focus, I think, with an emphasis on low waste and sustainability.
Yes. So we've got some broccoli and squash, celery, leeks, mushrooms, cauliflower.
On this street, there always used to be a greengrocer.
So this loose salad is fantastic. That comes from a small...
I'd like to introduce you to two women.
So I'm Lisa.
I'm Emily. We are a small good thing.
What we had was sort of a feeling in our gut about something that our community would want, and gave it a crack, didn't we, with a bit of money that we had.
It's been 15 months since they opened their little greengrocers on a residential street in Bolton in Lancashire.
To be quite honest, it was a slow burner to start with because people aren't used to shopping like this again. People are used to the very easy thing of going to the supermarket if they need to. People have just started coming, like it's got busier and busier.
Emily and I have spent a lot of time in recent years feeling a bit sort of overwhelmed by environmental issues and issues of our disconnect to the food supply and social justice and all of those things, and actually it can feel really overwhelming. But we can all just do a small good thing, can't we? Which sounds really naff, but actually sometimes it's really nice to remember that you don't have to fix the migrant crisis or climate change. Actually, it all just starts somewhere with one action, so that's why we're called a small good thing.
Well, two friends open a shop in their neighbourhood. Sounds lovely, but why am I telling you about it, you're wondering? What difference does that make to the stories of boarded-up shopping streets and ghost towns? Well, their customers think they're doing something remarkable. They nominated them, and now they're one of the 3 best shop or market finalists in the BBC Food and Farming Awards, because they're doing something different. On a tiny budget, they've created a place that people want to go, and it works. Not far from them, in the town centre, 1 in 4 shops is empty. Out-of-town developments, supported by the council, have ravaged it. Like so many other places, you add that to online shopping and stagnant wages, and what you get is in-town misery. But the 3 finalists we're looking at today are bucking that trend, and that got us thinking. What could we learn from them about the role of food in reviving communities and town centres? Here's a thought.
I think the big need in the next 20 years is for people to have somewhere to go and meet other people, because us humans are meant to be having contact with other humans. That makes us what we are. And the more you get into the digital age, the less human contact, if you're not careful, you're going to get.
That's John Timson, chair of Timson's, one of the most successful high street businesses in the country. In 2018, the government asked him to come up with a plan to bring life back into our high streets and town centres. I went to see him at the wonderfully eccentric and cheerful Timson House in Wythenshawe, Greater Manchester, to find out what he means by done right and where he thinks we've all been going wrong.
And one of the mistakes that these dying town centres have made is to try and continue to replicate the sort of shops that are available in the outer town centres. And it's balmy, really, when you think about it. The reason why they go out of town, a lot of those shops, is part of the fact the rents are lower, but also because people find it convenient because the parking's easy. So the town centres have been putting up the charge of parking and having exactly the same sort of shops. It just doesn't make sense. And it seems pretty obvious to me that a town needs to have a different offer to what you get at the local, here, Trafford Centre, somewhere else, Meadowhall, or wherever it is, Bluewater. You don't want that. You want to have something that's got character, something that's got a good reason to go there, which isn't all about shopping. It can be all the other stuff as well, and make it easy for people to get there.
So, off we go. John Timson's top tips for bringing life back into the streets. Number 1, small is beautiful.
Every big business that you got out there on the high street today started with one shop. Always well worth remembering that Jessie Boots had one place in Nottingham. That's where it started. Anita Roddick opened one body shop. And that's why I find independent retailers so interesting.
Let's talk a bit about, where you live. I mean, we're in Wythenshawe right now, which is on the outskirts of Manchester. Around where you live, what's the high street like?
Do you know where I shop? I tend to go around the corner to the local farm shop, which is amazingly busy, gets busier and busier every year because it's got interesting stuff. I think that's what you're going to see. The town down near to me, Tarpley, that can thrive if it develops lots of interesting shops and sorts out the parking. So the real problems of the high street near to us are actually thinking what it should be like in 20 years' time, not just thinking about retail, trying to get all the other things that people want, medical services and leisure facilities and places where they can meet. And if you get that right, then you'll attract the shops, but you're going to attract, I think, a lot more independent shops. We've got to the stage where things have stopped getting bigger. A lot of the things that are going wrong in the high street have been the big retailers, big stores. I think we're going to get interest in things which are smaller, but perfectly formed.
Smaller and places where you can meet. Isn't that the key? Well, last week, Food and Farming Award judges Leila Kazim and Mark Diacono travelled to visit all 3 finalists in the shop or market category.
A Small Good Thing are a community greengrocers providing fresh and dried produce with zero waste.
Really, 2 people who'd reached kind of fed-upness with the enormity of what was going on, and the name itself is really the prescription for what they do, which is to create a small good thing and hope that other small good things come from it.
They've got a gorgeous, brightly painted yellow storefront, and upon us arriving gave us a really warm welcome, threw open the door and told us to come right on in.
What we've sort of found is that we've set up and people have just wandered in, sort of, people who are of a similar mindset obviously just eventually wander in, and now we've got this sort of growing community of people who perhaps otherwise wouldn't have met, because Bolton's quite a big town and it's sort of like a place where people can connect with each other, and we're able to join people up. So we're at a time when high street shops are continually shutting down. You're bucking the trend in 2 ways. One is that you're starting up, and the second is that you're not on the high street. It seems like you're inviting a whole deal of grief on yourself. How's it working out? How do you think, is it part of the way forward?
A lot of people who come to us come because they don't want to use an automated system, and they want to chat to us and they want to get recipe ideas. So I don't know, I can't speak to its future, but it seems to be something that people really want. People come because it's handy, because it's just down the road from where you live, and people who travel generally want to be able to park their car nearby. And also, it's just rent's more expensive in the town centre and rates are more expensive, and obviously we're a small start-up business. It is just the 2 of us, So thankfully we got this lovely little shop where all of those costs are fairly reasonable and manageable, and actually it works really well being in a residential area.
It was good that this opened, because this is how we've always liked to shop, and then they all started to close down and you end up in supermarkets, so it's great to be able to come into somewhere like this now.
It's handy for me. I only live round the corner and I only work round the corner, so I can quite often come after work. I don't have a lot of money, but I'm really keen on shopping ethically. This is perfect. I can just come, get a bit of couscous for tonight's tea, that kind of thing. And and of course, they are lovely, welcoming people.
We first met Laura. Laura used to come when we were at the pub there. That's where we first met Laura. She used to come and buy your courgettes at the pub, didn't you? And that's a totally normal thing to do on a Saturday morning in Bolton. You could get a little beer if you hung around till the landlord arrived at lunchtime. It was a great time.
Can you tell me a bit about the events that you put on? So behind the till there is a chalkboard drawn up with the upcoming events. So next up, they've got the Two Hats Trio return. So this is a music evening. Wake and Wonder, which is a weekly walk on Monday mornings, and then the option to come back here and have breakfast.
Our events are about getting people together. We always have food at our events, no matter what they are. We always sit around a table, have some food. That's always part of it. So yeah.
What's the turnout like? Do people
Well,
come?
so for our workshop work,
Yeah. Here, basically.
You don't often get those laughs at the supermarket. A small good thing indeed. A small local greengrocer selling something you can't find online or in a retail park. If this is the kind of thing that's drawing people out, it could be part of a richer, more social future for Bolton. Onwards. Number 2.